So the pads came on at training camp today, and it was honestly full of great news for the Kansas City Chiefs. One key player returned from injury, and that actually made another look even more impressive. Then an unexpected wide receiver might contribute way sooner than expected on offense based on how he's looking so far. There was also an injury scare that initially did not look great. However, crisis seems to be averted for now. Basically, there's a ton to get into from day 5 of training camp, so let's talk about it. But first, how about those? All right, after a day of rest on Saturday, the pads came on today for day 5 of Chiefs camp, and it was a hot one. By 10 a.m., it was a real feel of 94 degrees with an 80% humidity level. And I saw somebody post, I think it was Jody of Kingdoms Queens, that it was 108 degrees. At least that's how it felt there on the field, which is insane. Basically, welcome to the KC area in late July, aka the pits of hell. Noah Gray spoke with the media today, and he said that the pads coming on changed the game. The intensity's different, and it feels good to be back to real football. Well, real football back on a extremely hot day. Welcome to Andy Reid's training camp. And this is at least as close to real football as we are going to get as fans until preseason, which I don't know if you count that as real football or not, but there's a lot to get into from today's practice. For starters, there was a bit of an update on the injury front to start things off. The undrafted tight end out of Clemson, Jake Brenningstool, was not in pads today. He was seen wearing a sleeve on his left leg, and Andy Reid said it was a hamstring strain. He's not going to put a return timeline on it because they need to kind of see how it goes. He made it seem minor, but again, those soft tissue injuries can take some time to heal from, which is unfortunate because Brenningstool, he was limited, yes, near the end of OTAs, but before that, he was standing out, and then was standing out during the first 4 days of training camp as well when he was a full go. So hopefully, again, it's nothing too crazy because he is a guy that could make a potential push for the roster if he's able to stack some good days at camp. So with one tight end out, another is in. Tight end Trey Watson did return today to practice, as did offensive tackle Jawan Taylor. More on Taylor in a second here, but that means both of these guys, Trey Watson and Jawan Taylor, are off the PUP list, with the lone guy remaining on it being cornerback Christian Fulton with the knee. We got a bit of an update from Andy Reid, a shocking update in my opinion. He said that Fulton had knee surgery back in the spring, calling it a knee cleanup procedure. So that was surprising, obviously, because it was the first thing really anybody's heard about him getting a knee procedure done on that knee. Seems more minor and not season ending or anything like that. He should hopefully be out there at some point during camp, or hopefully at least good to go for the start of the season. But again, he was out there early on during OTAs at some point during the spring, so maybe he tweaked it out there at a practice. It's just impossible to really know what happened because the team does not have to report on injuries during that time, but hopefully he heals up quick. There was also a bit of an injury scare during practice today, with everybody holding their breath as KC's second-round draft pick defensive tackle Omar Norman-Lott limped off the field early on during the teams period, and he appeared shaken up. Trainers looked at him, and he ended up going back out there, but went down the first rep, and from there, he was evaluated in the medical tent, missed some time, but some good news, did eventually come back out there on the field for the second team period with the second team defense. So crisis averted, I'm pretty sure at least, because after practice, Andy Reid said that he just tweaked his ankle. It'll probably be something to monitor, but as of right now, I'm sure we see Omar Norman-Lott out there in at least some capacity still during the next couple days of camp practices. Veteran defensive end Mike Dana is definitely excited about Omar Norman-Lott, saying he's explosive and his get-off is amazing. That stuff really pops out on tape. Love to hear that. He also thinks Ashton Gelati's got a chip on his shoulder, understands the game and playbook, and they will be relying on him a lot. His effort, his intensity, all of it. Another guy he complimented was Josh Simmons, saying he's a hell of an athlete with a bright future, and the sky is the limit for him. He's physical, athletic, and comes to work ready to compete every single day. More on Simmons in a second here, but the D-line is out there working hard, every single one of them. With Dana sharing they all want to finish strong in these games, and the long drive drill at these camp practices helps prepare them for the fourth quarter during some of these games when it's a shootout, a one-score game, and really a W or an L is on the line. The work they put in now is only going to help them later on this season. Dana personally has a goal, he said, of getting 8 sacks this year. He's always wanted to raise the bar and standard, pushing himself to be great every single day to better help the team as a whole. For what it's worth, Mike had 3.5 sacks last year, but in 2023 he had 6.5. The entire line wants to finish better, and the stats hopefully go up for everybody as opposing quarterbacks get taken down much more frequently this year. Anyway, from here, I want to get back to the offensive line because Jawaan Taylor's return was the big one to watch for me. Not to see if he would work in as a starting right tackle. That wasn't a surprise. We'll get into that because that is his spot to lose, and he's probably not going to lose it, but I wanted to see about the left tackle spot, and for now, that does indeed truly seem to be Josh Simmons' spot to lose because the first team O-line was Josh Simmons, Kingsley then at left guard, Creed, Trey Smith, and Jawaan Taylor at right tackle. Now, Jawaan Taylor is still getting ramped up, so Jalen Moore saw some work at right tackle, and I want to get into that one in a second here, but I do want to hone in first on Josh Simmons because Big Red shared today that he did some good things, but he's young and will continue to be a work in progress as time goes on, but so far, he does look the part. He had back-to-back solid reps against George Karlaftis and Felix Anudike-Uzomah. He worked against Omenihu in this rep here as well, holding his own. He could also be seen basically stonewalling FAU and teams on this play here. And look, I know it's been less than a full week of training camp and only one day in pads, but I'm over here pretty excited about the idea of a franchise left tackle for Mahomes once again. If Simmons keeps stacking good days like this, day in, day out, the sky really is the limit for him. Caleb James does a lot of film analysis for Arrowhead Pride, and he's been watching Simmons intently during his 2 visits at camp, and his biggest takeaways are Josh Simmons does not seem overwhelmed with anything they've thrown at him, and then of course today he held his own against good players. Those are very promising early signs from the young left tackle, but again, there are still a lot of days of camp left. Now, with Jawaan Taylor back and Simmons seemingly locking down the left tackle spot so far, that means Jalen Moore is potentially the next man up in the tackle lineup, but for what it's worth, they did kind of rotate in and out. Jawaan Taylor was slowly getting ramped up as he recovers from that lingering knee issue he had last season. And Andy Reid said today they are getting him back into the swing of things since it's his first time back. So yeah, Jalen Moore, Jawaan Taylor, they rotated in. You can read into that what you want, that there is a legitimate right tackle battle. I will say this, once Jawaan Taylor gets ramped up and a couple weeks go by, if he's still rotating in with Jalen Moore, maybe there is actually a battle on that right side. But for now, I think it is Jawaan Taylor's spot. For what it's worth, Andy said they are all 3 kind of competing in there. So again, I could be wrong, but I'm happy to admit that as the weeks go by. Here's something else to keep eyes on, the cornerback room. With Christian Fulton still on the PUP list, it appears Spags is testing out options of Trent McDuffie being able to kick inside of the slot from time to time, but with Fulton out, they gave Nazeeh Johnson a go on one side and Jalen Watson on the other, and then again, Trent McDuffie was in the slot. Well, there were times when McDuffie was back on the outside and Connor was in the slot as well, but now is the time to test the waters and see who's the next man up? Who can you trust in the rotation? I do like Chamari Connor, but I just think he's more effective at safety because if he's got to go up against guys like Rashee Rice's caliber in the slot, that's going to be a mismatch nearly every single time. Speaking of that, Mahomes hit Rice on a shallow crosser here in teams with Chamari Connor trailing behind. Rice is so good, man, and once he gets back from that suspension, he's going to be a legit problem this year. Mahomes spoke on NFL Network after practice today, and he said Rice is looking even better. That explosiveness is there. That's something you want to look for after a season-ending knee injury like that. Do they have the explosiveness that they had pre-injury? And Mahomes confirms he indeed does. Good news for the Chiefs, bad news for everybody else. Matt Derrick of Chiefs Digest said today that Rice continued doing Rashee Rice things, which essentially means standing out, winning his route, and getting open for Mahomes time and time again. But let me know in the comments down below what you think of Rashee Rice. I'm so high on him right now. I think he could still be the leading producing receiver in that room, even with his suspension. Anyway, something else to note about the secondary with guys like Nazeeh Johnson and even Friday, the 3rd round rookie, Noel Williams, rotating in with the ones. Josh Williams seems to be a bit lower on the depth chart right now. He did try and swipe this ball away from Hollywood Brown on a 1v1 rep and appeared to have missed by mere inches. So he's a guy on the bubble worth keeping eyes on. Speaking of Hollywood Brown, though, Mahomes launched a rocket to him for a touchdown later on during the long drive period. That was touched on a bit earlier on in this video, but it was 9 straight plays at this point. And that's what Andy likes to pay attention to the most personally. The second half of these practices, when players start needing to dig deep, he wants to essentially see who's got that dog mentality and who's really willing to put it all out there. Now, another pretty exciting 1v1 rep was this one here between Trent McDuffie and Xavier Worthy. And I'm not even sure how you're supposed to guard Worthy with him being able to stop on a dime like that. Lord have mercy. Safety help is probably the only way, so corners don't have to be terrified of getting beat deep. But either way, I'm excited for Worthy as he enters year 2. He's building off of last year. Mahomes complimented him as well during his interview with NFL Network. And overall, he's got a better understanding of the playbook, the zones, and what defenses might throw at him. And regarding the deep ball, it being back or not, X told the media today that him better understanding coverages is going to allow him to make the most of those opportunities for sure. Special teams coordinator Dave Toub mentioned Worthy as a potential punt returner option on Friday. And while that's probably unlikely, especially with Rice being suspended during that time at least, Worthy said he's willing to get back out there and do that if the team asks that of him. Whatever it takes, he's in. So while Worthy is in, we know that even though Rice is dominating so far at camp just like he did last year, he will eventually be out due to that suspension. Well, in Rice's absence, Juju Smith-Schuster could do some damage in the middle of the field, and he plucked this laser from Mahomes today. Jalen Royals also held on to a rocket from Patrick during sevens, and he actually is the guy that's been working into the Rice role at times so far at camp. Rice goes out. Jalen Royals is the guy coming in and working in. I mean, he's got the fastest 10-yard split in this year's wide receiver draft class with solid yards after catch ability, and that certainly is going to help fill that role if he's able to absorb that playbook and contribute early on as a rookie, which is pretty rare in Andy Reid's offense. Xavier Worthy was pretty complimentary of Royals today, describing him as a fast learner who's taking advantage of his opportunities. Rookies will always make mistakes, yes, but he's limiting those so far, and that really is exciting. He's exceeding even my expectations so far. Next up, several tight ends made some plays today as well. Travis Kelce caught multiple quick passes from Mahomes. No real surprise. He also got a haircut. In case you're wondering, everybody's freaking out about that, but he buzzed his head. Then Noah Gray had a couple catches today during teams. Jared Wiley worked in with the second team offense. And if you look at this route here, that knee does not look like it bothers him at all. Good news for him in his rehab progress from the ACL tear back in November. Noah Gray added that Wiley's battled back hard from his rehab, and he seemed pretty excited for him in his sophomore season. Then, in 7-on-7 with the third team offense, Bailey Zappi tossed one up to tight end Robert Tonyan, and he made an impressive one-handed grab while being held down the right sideline. Big time play there by the veteran. Andy Reid said Tonyan did a nice job today. He's a veteran that's been at this for a while and is a good receiving tight end. Noah Gray kind of echoed that about Tonyan, noting there's lots of competition in that room overall. It helps having Kelce in that room. He's a leader. He teaches them things from the top down, really, in his own way, from blocking, route running, defense recognition, to work ethic, all of it. It's extremely valuable for the entire room to be able to draw from his knowledge of the game. Before I get to the running back room, because there's some interesting takeaways, I do want to note that Tyquan Thornton once again caught a deep ball from Mahomes. It was early on during sevens, I believe, but he's continuing to stand out as a guy that could potentially make the 53. Would he fill in the Justin Watson role? That's a great question, but keep eyes on Tyquan Thornton for the rest of camp and see if he gets more work in with the ones and how he does it preseason. Anyway, the running back room, let's get into it. Today, it was Isaiah Pacheco, Kareem Hunt, and Elijah Mitchell taking reps with the first team offense. Rashard Smith and Carson Steele were mainly with the twos, but Rashard Smith did work in a bit with the first team offense, being lined up out wide at times. And again, I think that's how he's probably going to be utilized in this offense during his rookie year on a situational basis to create mismatches out there in coverage. I mean, imagine Rashard Smith lined up against a linebacker or even some safeties. That's definitely going to have Mahomes looking his way. He will also contribute pretty heavily on special teams. Maybe as a punt returner. I think Nico's got that locked in, but definitely on kicks, and then he could work in other ways as well. And then I do have to mention that since the pads are on, refs are out there in attendance, and we're definitely throwing some flags. Mahomes even appeared to be a bit frustrated by all the laundry thrown at the offense at one point during teams for procedural stuff like illegal motions and the like. But during his NFL Network interview after practice, Mahomes overall said, hey, I'm going to give the team a B. First time in pads, it wasn't that bad. There's going to be stuff that needs cleaned up, but they've learned from it, and you've got to build on that every single day at camp. It's early. We all know it. You're going to get that stuff ironed out over time, especially when you consider the fact that there's several young guys working in, and then Jawan Taylor, the flag magnet himself, returning to practice today. Trolling aside, I do think he's a pretty good right tackle when he's not getting flagged, so His return from the PUP list today was a welcomed sight indeed. So hey, make sure to let me know in the comments down below if you are as encouraged as I am about day one in pads. There's obviously a lot of practices left, multiple preseason games, all of that. But so far, I am very excited about this Chiefs team. Let me know how you're feeling in the comments. And until next time, let's go. Let's freaking go. How about those?